Grab bag, training camp, NFC West. Let's start with the Rams. What's more likely this season? Allen Robinson, newcomer from the Bears, has 1,200 or more receiving yards, or Bobby Wagner, newcomer from the Seahawks, is a first-team All-Pro? What's more likely?
I'm going to go with the Bobby Wagner first-team All-Pro. He's still a really good football player. He's on a marquee football team where, even if he doesn't play at an all-pro level, I think he'd probably get a lot of votes for that just because he's the popular name at that position. And, sometimes that can go on a little too long in guys like that's career where they keep getting votes like that. Allen Robinson, I got to see it a little to believe it. I do think he can dance around that 1,000 yards, certainly. 1,200 to me is another stratosphere that I don't know if I'm willing to go there quite yet. So I'll go with Bobby Wagner, first-team All-Pro.
Yeah, I agree with you. Reputation means a lot when it's time to cast those ballots. Last year, he was a second-team All-Pro for the first time in 5 years. He had 5 straight seasons as a first-team All-Pro. You get with a better team, you're going to be more likely to be the first-team All-Pro. We're going to hear a lot about Bobby Wagner this year with the Rams. All right, let's move on to the 49ers. Buy or sell, this preseason matters more to Trey Lance than any other second-year quarterback.
I'm buying that all the way. All the way. Yes. That's a guy that's got to play. He's got to get used to life in the NFL. Got to keep his body safe. Got to throw the appropriate balls that we talk about so much last offseason where it's like, hey, you can't throw the ball 105 miles per hour when the guy's 4 feet in front of your face and expect him to catch it. So it's all of that. There's some polish that needs to go on. And I also think within that, it's important to him. It's important to Shanahan, I think, to kind of figure out what he can expect or how much he can handle or how he wants to play that way. So I am buying that all the way. I think it's clearly the most important preseason for any of the second-year quarterbacks.
Yeah, look, I think it's important for Trevor Lawrence, but he doesn't have the pressure on him that Lance does and the scrutiny. That's the difference. This is his chance. He's got to get ready. Everyone's watching. They gave up Jimmy Garoppolo to get him. They invested 3 first-round picks plus to get him. Right. Everything he does is going to be watched very carefully, and his durability, I think, is going to be the most important factor, and that's going to hover over him all year long. Fill in the blank. The Cardinals player who needs the biggest preseason is who?
I'm going to bring up somebody that I kind of had this conversation a little yesterday on the Chris Simms Unbuttoned podcast. I'm going to go with Isaiah Simmons. I know a lot of the starters and those players are not going to play a ton, but Isaiah Simmons, this is year 3, right? There was some disappointment last year about how he played. He was taken out of the lineup in some certain situations. He wasn't starting games. I think he's got to learn to maybe play a little bit more of a physical brand of football, take on blocks, learn how to get up, fill this hole, do that. We know he's an athletic specimen, sideline to sideline and all that. But they got rid of, he went up to the Minnesota Vikings. Hicks, the linebacker.
Jordan Hicks,
thank you. I wanted to say Akeem Hicks, and I couldn't get it through my brain there. They got rid of him. So
Orlando Bloom.
He's a guy that I'm going to have my eye on. They took a chance on him, taking him the top 10, thinking that, hey, he played all these positions in college, but we think we can make him, a linebacker in the middle of the field and do that. And I don't know if that's necessarily paid off for them quite yet. So I'm going to be looking at him closely.
I'm going to flip it back to the guy that was all the focus of all the scrutiny and criticism 2 weeks ago, Kyler Murray, because I remember they had an ESPN preseason game last year, and their offense was crap. It was horrible. And he was talking to Lisa Salters on the sideline.
Oh, he didn't want to play.
Oh, it doesn't really matter. It's just a preseason.
Right.
And, yeah, they were pretty damn good out of the gates, but you throw on top of it the homework clause and all that, and if he sputters this offseason, it's going to be a lot more conspicuous than it was last offseason.
Yeah.
Preseason.
Yes,
Preseason.
I know. You're right. He's not going to be able to get away with maybe some of that. People are in extra scrutiny over comments like that, and he took that right head on last year. The preseason, I just want to play when it's real and all of that. He's gonna have to be careful maybe with some of that wording now that this whole contract situation arose a few weeks ago.
On to the Seahawks, which doesn't belong and why. Russell Wilson trade returns in Seattle. Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Charles Cross. He was the guy that the Seahawks selected with the first-round pick they acquired from the Denver Broncos. Which doesn't belong and why? Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Charles Cross.
Ooh, that's a tough one here. I think I'm going to go with Charles Cross here. Charles Cross, to me, is the unknown. We know what Noah Fant is. He's got a chance to be one of the better pass-catching tight ends in football. We've seen enough there to know he has that type of talent. Drew Lock, same thing. We know what he is. Talented guy that needs to learn to take care of the football and take advantage of his opportunities, which I think were wise to point out last year when he got in as a backup quarterback. And then Charles Cross is ultra-talented but raw. Didn't get asked to do a whole lot at Mississippi State. Top 10 pick, got all this potential and all that as well. But, I gotta see it to believe it. Is he going to be able to contribute to the team right away? I'll go with him as the guy that doesn't belong for those reasons.
I'm going to go with the simplest, most obvious, lowest hanging fruit. I'm going to say Drew Lock because they put out their first depth chart, non-binding, officially unofficial depth chart of the preseason, and Locke is the only one who isn't a starter.
I like
Charles
yours better.
Cross
I should have picked
is
that.
in as the left tackle, starting left tackle, right out of the gates. Now, for Fant, he's listed as the starter, but there's an or between him and Will Dissly. So they didn't do co-starters. Sometimes they'll do that. But they've got Noah Fant first string, and then they've got Dissly in the second string column with an or in between, and then Locke at number 2 behind Geno Smith. Pete Carroll is going to do everything he can to will Geno Smith to be the starting quarterback of this team because he wants, I believe, Russell Wilson's backup to beat Russell Wilson week 1. He wants nothing more than to beat Russell Wilson with his understudy from last year.
Well, I think there's that. And this is another thing that I wish I would have said yesterday that I didn't quite articulate a little is I would worry about the emotions of Drew Lock in that game of, wait, I'm going to show Denver what they missed out on. I'm going to show them. I'm going to fit this ball into a 40-yard tight window down the field. Oh, it got intercepted. Hey, Pete, we're down by 21 because my ego got the best of me, and I'm trying to throw lasers around to show Denver they messed up. That would worry me, let alone we know that's in him a little already. So I think between your point and that right there, and they know what Geno is, and he's in the trust tree, all of that, that's where I'm with you all the way.
But it's not like they traded Drew Lock because they were able to get
I know. It wasn't like it was some slappy they got. Right.
Or just some average run-of-the-mill guy. It's Russell Wilson.
I get it.
So I'd like to think that Drew Lock. I don't know. Would he squander his chance to hold the job? Would he squander his chance to hold the job all year long by trying to do too much against the Denver Broncos? Or I don't know. But it's a good point. It's something to think about. I just think that Pete Carroll wants Geno Smith on that field for that game and see how long he holds it. If it doesn't work out, then you go to Drew Lock at some point.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.